Okay. We're learning the beautiful chapter 9 of this amazing, amazing book, Gift to Mankind. Page 141, just by way of review, where he describes the inner reality of our life. That there are two forces within our heart, two souls. One makes its home in the left side of the heart and in the blood, and it's the source of all our self-seeking desires for pleasure. It's called by many names: the human soul, the vital soul, the animal soul, because it shares the same vital characteristics as any animal. It's an energizing force of life within the being. And then we have a godly soul, which has, for some reason, been cast down to guide and direct and control the tremendous powers in the animal soul and channel them into the service of God. They are like two kings warring at war for control of a city, which in those days, old days, would be like control of a country. But we would understand the control of a country. Page 141, the will desire of the godly soul is that she alone should rule over the person and direct his or her life, as the case may be. And all of the kol ha'ivrim, all the organs in a person's body will be directed according to ruling, subject to her, this is discipline here, sarim lemashmasa, following her directions, faithfully, loyally, betelim etzla, with no extraneous will of its own, no feeling that, I could be the boss, I could be in charge. No, completely happily subservient. All the limbs should be happily subservient to the will and desire of the godly soul. That's what the godly soul wants. And we said yesterday, we introduced the idea on Friday of a chariot, a vehicle. A vehicle doesn't run by itself. Even a robotic vehicle has somebody there on the computer directing it, telling it where to go. Page 142, and that it should be, that the organs of the body should be a garment for the godly soul. So that the clothes, in other words, the clothes that you wear, they reflect who you want to be and what you want to be and what you think you are. and that the organs of the soul, not just the organs, the physical organs of your body, which would be reflected in your movement, and not just your thoughts and actions, but the very faculties, the 10 faculties that make up your soul, the 10 spheres, should all be focused and harmoniously together with the godly soul, and should express itself. Soul should express itself. Good morning, Sir Abigail Baum. Miss Baum, there you are. Officially, Baum. Tree of life. our body should be like a expressing godliness. In other words, you look at the Rebbe, you are looking that if the Eibishter wanted to be a Rebbe, this is what the Rebbe would, this is what he would look like. That the body expresses godliness. It's a huge discipline. It says about the Rebbeim, by the age of 5 or 6, the fifth Rebbe, Rebbe Sholem Ber, Sholem Dov Ber, the fifth Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab, by the age of 6, his body was a Merkava. His body was perfectly trained. He would only do mitzvahs. It wouldn't want to do something that's not. If his yarmulke fell off when he was sleeping, he'd wake up. If his tzitzis became crumpled, he would sleep with tzitzis. If they became crumpled and weren't covering him, he'd wake up. I gave you the example last week of a wrestler. You could apply it to a top of the line ballet dancer. Their body trained after years of training. We had a dancer in this class a couple of years ago. She's getting married, or maybe she just got married.
No, she just had her Shabbos Kabbalah. So she gets married this week.
Next week she's getting married.
No, this week.
This week she's getting married. So yeah, she said the training was painful. It was excruciating. The body that didn't want to do it. All those exercises necessary to become a dancer. So we too have to, the godly soul, it doesn't have to hurt. like an athletic thing, like gymnastics or dancing. But spiritually, it requires strict discipline. You can't cheat. You'll never win a medal in competition if you're always cheating in your training, right or wrong?
Well, if they win, there's ways to play there. They win, but then they get caught in a scandal years later, like
What kind of scandal? You mean because they're taking drugs?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not talking about taking drugs. I'm talking about they take drugs in order to do well in competition. I'm talking about taking things just to indulge in the pleasure, taking drugs for pleasure.
Oh. But the drugs for the competition are cheating.
Are what?
It's cheating.
Yeah, that's that. I was just talking about cheating on the training, not cheating in the competition. So the same, because what I'm talking about is our own personal lives. We can't cheat in training ourselves to say, well, just this once, I'll indulge myself. I'll do something that I know is not according to Shulchan Aruch. I'll indulge myself. That's a different kettle of fish. That's called echte ve'ashuv. I'll sin today and I'll do tshuva later. So it says a person who says, eat, drink, and be merry today because tomorrow, who knows? Or so okay, I'll be good next year. I'll change. They don't give you a chance. It says a person who has that attitude psychologically does himself in because he can never overcome. It's very, very high. He can possibly, with great desire, great force of his willpower, he can change. But usually if a person says, I'll change later, when I'm ready, then I'll change, he never changes. Because the idea that I could change later is part of the wrongdoing. So it doesn't help. If you follow me. It's called, in Hebrew, it's called Echta v'ashuv. I'll sin now and I'll do tshuva later. When I don't have the same tests that I have now, the same desires, same powerful urges, I'll settle down later in life. So it says that about such a person, they don't give him a chance to change. He could, if he really wants to, he could force the issue. But the godly soul wants that desire, that negative desire, shouldn't even enter. We're not going to let it in. Here's a classic story from the time of the Alter Rebbe. A person said to the Alter Rebbe, how do I deal with thoughts that pop into my head? And I know that they're not appropriate. I don't want them, but they're there. They just come. Maybe they come because I had them earlier in life and they come back to haunt me. Or maybe they come because I saw something and it suggested something I was thinking about. And I'm not thinking about davening. I'm not thinking about Hashem when I'm learning. My mind isn't in the right place. What do I do? How do I get rid of all these alien thoughts in my mind? How do I get them out? Very hard. Very hard to keep your mind pure. So he said, go to this person and he'll teach you. Well, in those days, to go to see somebody was very hard. You had to go on foot and the roads weren't very good. And who knows what the weather was like. When he got there, it happened to be a cold, rainy night. And he found the place where this chassid lived and he knocked on the door and somebody threw open a window upstairs and said, who is it? He says, me, I'm here. The Alter Rebbe sent me. He says, okay. And he closes the window and he doesn't open the door. Leaves him standing out in the cold. He waits. Finally, what, did he forget about me? Well, I'm sure he's coming. And he waits longer. Guy doesn't come. Finally, he knocks again. Guy opens the window. He says, yeah. He says, I'm standing outside. He says, fine, we'll let you in. And he doesn't come and open the door. And this happens a few times. Then finally, he lets him in. And he gives him a towel. He dries him off. He gives him some tea. And he moves in to learn from this big chassid, how do you control your negative thoughts that come thronging into your brain when you don't want them there. You don't want them there. After a few days or maybe weeks, there's no time limit in this story. After a while, the balabas, the chassid, notices that the young man who came to see him is looking down, upset. He says, what are you upset about? He said, well, I came to learn something from you, and it's not happening. I don't seem to be learning anything. I mean, you're a very nice person, and I see the way you lead your daily life. It's very admirable. You're obviously a God-fearing person, but it's not answering my question. Well, he says, what is your question? He says, the Alter Rebbe sent me to you to find out how do you control thoughts that come into your brain uninvited. He says, I taught you that the moment you arrived. That's your question. I taught you that already a long time ago. So you did? He says, don't you remember? He says, what am I supposed to remember? He said, well, what happened when you got here? He said, it was very strange. It was cold, rainy night, and I knocked on the door, and then he didn't let me in. He says, that was the lesson. If you're the owner of the house, you let in who you want when you want. It's up to you. You have to take control. That's the story. So this is what it says about the godly soul, page 142. It wants that no alien thought should pass through. We have strict border control, lockdown. We don't let alien thoughts in. Then they don't bother us. Dahainu. So now what are we talking about? Now he's going to go into this in detail. We've discussed in chapter 3 and at other occasions the whole process of thinking about the greatness of Hashem. How do you do it? Okay. First step is to contemplate how Hashem gives life to everything. How do you do that? Talas moichin, with the three aspects of your mind. Shabaroish, where I'm on the bottom of page 142 now. Memuloim, they should be filled with Chachma, Bina, Das, Shabanefesh Elokis. They should be filled with concepts from the godly soul. Concepts of godliness. That's why we're learning Tanya. I used to have a teacher, he wasn't Jewish. And he used to say, young people nowadays want to be free to think for themselves. They forget that you have to have something to think about. You need information. So how do you do that? You conceive a godly thought, you develop the thought, conceive it in Chachma, you develop it in Bina, you focus on it and connect yourself to it with Das. Page 143, second Hebrew lines, say that's called meditating on the greatness of Hashem. Easy on a day like today, it's such a beautiful, clear day that everybody took advantage of the beautiful morning to look at the sky, to perceive the greatness of Hashem's creation. Did you notice that the sun is much higher over the rooftops at this time of day than in the past? It was just breasting over the rooftops a month ago, and now it's already high in the sky by 8 o'clock. It's up like 11 o'clock high, 10:30, 11. If the world is a clock. To meditate on the greatness of Hashem, which is really without limit. The more you think about it, the more awesome you see that it is, and this is called the greatness of Hashem. Physically, there's quantity and there's quality. Quantity is is greatness in terms of how much there is of it. When we think about the way Hashem's life fills the world, it's amazing. He gives life to everything in the whole world. And then there's quality. Quality is harder to define. The quality of a thing. What makes a thing of a better quality? When we think about the quality of Hashem's creation, how everything runs in harmony. We think of the divine providence that pervades everything, permeates everything in the universe. And that there are universes beyond what we perceive as a visible universe. And we think about the greatness of Hashem. So as we meditate on these things, which are infinite concepts, page 143, then from them comes out through the quality of Das. Das, I said, is the connection, that we connect and focus our minds on these thoughts. We don't let our minds stray. We don't let ourselves get distracted. And then that gives rise, this gives birth from Chachma and Bina to yira b'moichei, which is the awe, a feeling of awe before the greatness of Hashem in one's mind. Intellectually, you feel a sense of awe, which is fear in the mind. That's like Yiras Shamayim. What makes a person a Yiras Shamayim? He doesn't go around trembling, afraid that someone's going to knock him down. It means that he has such tremendous respect for the greatness of Hashem that he he wants to be in harmony with it and not out of harmony with it. That his life should be a melody and not a cacophony, if that's the right word. Yira b'moichei, and this fear in his mind, this awe, feeling of awe in his mind before the greatness of Hashem, the awesome greatness of Hashem. Remember, I suggested a physical comparison to this is like standing beside some very powerful thing like Niagara Falls, or for those of you who are into hiking, standing on the edge of a cliff 2,000 feet above the ground. You don't want, you don't want to get too close. At the same time, you have a feeling of awe at what you're seeing, the whole valley spread out before you. So the yira b'moichei, the fear of awesome fear of Hashem in your mind, then becomes actual fear in your heart. What's the actual fear of your heart? You're driving down the thruway and suddenly you hear the siren. A policeman is on your tail. Uh-oh, you look at the speedometer. Oh, I didn't realize this brand new car I've got, I didn't even feel that I was doing 90. And I'm in trouble. But Abbas Hashem, and then after you have this feeling of fear, it's interesting, the fear comes before love. After you have this feeling of fear of Hashem, that you don't want to do anything against the law. And not only that, you don't want to do, you're more than that. How do you feel when the policeman pulls you over? You feel, oh, officer, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. You feel ashamed. You feel so foolish. So you feel a sense of shame and foolishness before the greatness of Hashem, that you were just so completely out of touch. And then this gives way to a feeling of love that you want to be connected. Perceiving the greatness of Hashem, you want to be connected to it. But Abbas Hashem, and this feeling of desiring to be, yeah, I really, really, this is where I want to be. I don't want to be anywhere else. I'm not happy with where I was. I want to be connected with every good thing that comes along with being connected to Hashem. I mean, imagine yourself pursuing a certain lifestyle and then getting disillusioned and wanting to leave it behind. And there must be a better way of life. And when you realize that there is, that's what you really want. And every detail that you learn about it, you like it very, very much. You feel, I'm very, very happy that I'm in this better lifestyle now than I was before. It's a far better thing that I do now than I've ever done. Yeah, remember that? And then comes Abbas Hashem Ke'esh. The feeling of love warms up till it becomes like a fire, libe burning in your heart. Like fiery flames in the heart. And these fiery flames of love in your heart become stronger and stronger, and that's what you really want all the time, to be connected to Hashem. This is a quote from David HaMelech, from the Psalms, chapters of Psalms from David HaMelech. I think it's chapter 84, where he says, my soul expires. My soul is expiring. Hashem, I can't take it. I have so much love for you. I don't want anything else. Kol sanafshi. You know where we see this in the Torah? It's not what Hashem wants. Hashem wants us to come back, to be part of this physical world, and to use the world in the proper way. But the sons, when they erected the day they erected the Mishkan, which we're reading about in the Torah right now, it took place on the first day of Nisan, when they built a tabernacle, a sanctuary, a holy temple for God, for the first time in history. Until then, people brought an offering. They made a little altar out of stone. They made a barbecue on it. They gave the best parts to Hashem and said, Hashem, this is my way of saying thank you to you for all the blessings given to me. But here it became formalized in a dwelling place for God, a place where God would meet with the Jewish people. And not only that, the Jewish people had almost given up that Hashem would ever want to be with them again, because no sooner had they entered into a covenant with him than they went and worshiped the golden calf. And it was terrible. The gifts that Hashem had given them, he took away, and they didn't know if they would ever be in his good graces again. And ensued thereafter a period of like 9 months of heavy duty tshuva. And finally, Hashem did forgive them on Yom Kippur, but didn't let them build the Mishkan for another 6 months. From Yom Kippur, 6 months went by till the first day of Nisan, like from Rosh Hashanah to Pesach, is 6 months. And they built the Mishkan. They were so happy. And it didn't happen right away. They built the Mishkan, and Aaron brought sacrifices, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. They were so disappointed. They were so upset that Hashem he wasn't accepting it. They were trying so hard to do tshuva, and he wasn't accepting it. So Moshe said, don't be upset. We'll try again tomorrow. And they tried again, and they tried again, and they tried again, and Hashem wasn't accepting it. Finally, on the first day of Nisan, Aaron brought the sacrifices of the day, and a fire came down out of heaven. And everybody saw it. Everybody saw it. There have been many people criticized Torah and criticized Yiddishkeit over 3,000 years since this happened. Nobody ever said it didn't happen. There were millions of people there. They all saw it happen. This fire came down out of heaven and consumed the sacrifices. Just a minute. Sorry, I'll get to you. It consumed the sacrifices, and people were, you can't imagine, they were elated. They were so excited. They were so happy. And the two sons of Aaron, the firstborn and secondborn sons of Aaron, they took the most sublime of all offerings, which is the incense. And they took the incense into the Holy of Holies because they were ecstatically in love with God. They were in love. They felt their soul was going to expire with love. They took this offering into the Holy of Holies, and the fire came down again a second time, went into their nostrils, and they died. They died in an ecstasy of love. It's not what Hashem wants. He doesn't want us to be dead. A similar story happened with the Alter Rebbe, that he was learning with the son of the Maggid, and they were going higher and higher and higher in their emotions, in their connection with Hashem, and the Alter Rebbe sensed that they were about to expire. The soul was going to go out. The body couldn't contain it anymore. The Alter Rebbe stood up, washed his hands, and took a bagel and smeared it with butter, and dipped it in salt, and said, Hamaitzi. And the Maggid was always grateful to him for saving the life of his son Avram. Because that's what Hashem wants. Hashem wants us in the physical world to use it. He doesn't want us to expire. That's what it means in the words of David the Melech here. My soul expires for you, Hashem. So the bottom line is page 143. My soul is expiring for you. V'chasheka, with the desire, v'chafetza, to, and the yearning, l'davka boy, to cling to Hashem, to the exclusion of everything else. V'ein sof baruch hu, to the infinite one, blessed be he, b'chol leiv v'nefesh, with my whole heart and all my soul. Turn the page. And with all my might, like we say in the Shema, you shall love Hashem with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. It goes on, page 144. Me'umka deliba, and this feeling of love is rising from the depths of the heart. Shebachola yamoni, which is on the right side. V'shia toiche ratzuf ava, that the whole inside of your heart is full of love. Mole v'gadush, so full, uses the word inlaid. It's just totally covered until it actually overflows, spills over into the left side of the heart. Bottom of page 144. Achatis pashat gam l'chol hasmoli, to the left side of the heart, lakfil l'sitra achra, to totally overwhelm any negative impulses from the Yetzer Hara, from the animal soul in the blood, in the left side of the heart. Yisoid hamayim haroim shaba, because there's a love in the left side of the heart for physical pleasure, and this is just totally overwhelmed by the feeling of love in the right side of the heart, which is the love of Hashem. Like the Alter Rebbe says, and the quotation is brought in the Hayom Yom on the 18th day of Kislev. The Alter Rebbe, in his moments of Devekus, when he was so involved in his davening, he would say, I don't want Hashem, I don't want anything. I don't want anything that you could give me. I don't want anything. All I want is you. All I want is you. So that's the feeling he's describing here, and he can describe it because he had it. So the idea is here that what happens now is that with this feeling of godly love, feeling of love of Hashem, filling the right side of the heart, spilling over into the left side of the heart, so the Yetzer Hara just runs for cover. In a tzaddik, in the life of a tzaddik, a righteous person, it doesn't come back. It not only runs for cover, it's totally overwhelmed, and it joins the Yetzer Tov. It becomes like a second Yetzer Tov. So it's like in chess, when a pawn gets to the end of the board, it becomes a queen. So the Yetzer Hara becomes transformed into a Yetzer Tov. But in a Beinani, this is the book of the Beinani, it doesn't happen. That does not happen. But it gets overwhelmed. It's out of the picture now. So that the feelings of lust and desire for physical pleasure, whether food or other kinds of pleasure, they are totally sidelined. They are sidelined because this whole thing of pleasure is coming from Klippa, and there's no room for that anymore. On page 145, L'shanoisa, so then what happens is that the Klippa, the desire for physical pleasure from the elements of, which of the four elements would it be? In the animal soul, desire for pleasure? Water, yeah. Would be from the element of water, L'shanoisa, so it gets transformed. L'hafcha, transformed mitainuge olam hazeh, from the desire for pleasure from physical things. It becomes transformed for the desire, transformed with desire to be connected to Hashem, transformed to the love of, instead of the love of pleasure, it becomes the love of Hashem. Like it says in the Shema, we want to love, we have es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavecha. So the sages ask this question. Be patient, Sarah. The word is levavecha. So there's levavecha means with all your heart, right? That's the word for heart, lev. Okay, it's le va ve ha. Le vav levavecha. So lev means your heart. What's this extra vase doing? Ha means yours, your heart. What is this extra vase doing here? I don't need it. I could say the same thing. You should love Hashem b'chol libecha, with all your heart. So why does the Torah say with an extra vase b'chol le vav b'chol levavecha? What's this extra base doing here? Answer the sages, it's for both sides of your heart. With your right side of your heart and the left side of your heart. That the left side of your heart should also love Hashem. If the left side of your heart is selfish, good. For your own selfish reasons. The person becomes convinced that it pays for me to love Hashem. It doesn't pay to do anything, to do the other way. I'm not going to answer your question. Just give me a question. Give me a bit of time here. I'll get to you. With both of your natures. That's Talmud. That's what the sages teach us in the Talmud. That's where it's recorded. It's recorded in the Talmud. Okay, so we're going to have to stop here. And we'll come back. We'll continue. We're in the middle now of a whole passage, like an ode to the love of Hashem. It's the most beautiful passage here. Okay, now we have two questions. Sarah, Abigail.
Yeah, you're talking about quality, and you were saying now like quality is greatness of like how much there is, but I didn't quite catch like what you define for.
Quality. Well, how can we give an analogy to it? Let's say you have a fine wine. You want to buy a nice wine for the Sabbath. So you buy a wine according to your budget. And you know somebody who has a more developed taste for wine and grew up in one of these wine-loving countries like France or Italy or somewhere. They're connoisseurs of fine wine. And he buys a wine that's much, much more expensive. And you go to his house and he gives you, he said, would you like to try this wine? You make Kiddush and you take this wine and say, wow, that's really not the same as the wine that in the bottle's the same quantity. But can you compare the quality of the wine you take every day for $10 or $15 with the quality of this wine that's 100 years old? That's, it's a rare, fine wine, and you taste it, you just never tasted anything like it before. There's no comparison. It's not infinitely more, but that's quality.
Like the essence.
What?
Like would it sort of be like the essence of something, like two things that have the same quantity, but one can have more of an essence?
Not more of an essence. The essence is essence.
Yeah.
You can't have more of essence. Essence is, a drop of essence connects with a million drops. They're all essence. Quality, the quality is just there are levels and levels and levels that measure the quality. Let's say you have a car, okay, and your car drives along the road and you feel every bump. And you have another car with a much better suspension system, and you feel like you're riding on clouds. It's a much better quality suspension system. It's not more, it's just better. So that's quality, a quality product. We serve you a quality product. You can get the same thing, you can go buy a pair of shoes. A friend of mine, he's a lawyer. He's not an extravagant person. And I say, those look like a nice pair of shoes. Where did you get them? He says, I got them in Manhattan. I paid $500 for this pair of shoes. I said, you did? I never paid $500 for a pair of shoes in my life. Are they very comfortable? He says, they're very comfortable. He said, they're very comfortable. That's quality. Okay, it's a quality product. So in the terms of the greatness of Hashem's creation, when you see that there are things that are very low quality, and then there are things that are very high quality, and that the whole world runs in the most high quality way, that beyond anything you could ever imagine creating something like that, then you have a sense of awe for the one who creates it. Tova.
I'll just ask you tomorrow. I'll remember.
What?
Is it okay if I just remember and ask you tomorrow?
Write it down.
I'll write it down.
It's okay with me. It's okay with you. Okay, now let's take attendance. Bina.
Hello. How are you?
Baruch Hashem. Nice to hear your voice. Who is Chanel? What's your last name?
Hi, Rabbi, it's Chanel Brawl, B-R-A-L.
B-R-E-L?
A-L, yes.
Bral. B-R-A-L. Okay. A-L, Bral, Chanel.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Where are you?
I am on my way to come to school.
To this school? Coming here?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. So if you get here before I leave, introduce yourself.
I sure will.
Liba
Thank
Rivka.
you.
Where's Liba Rivka? She left. There you are. Okay. Ariel was here. And Leah is here. Anybody whose name I did not call, did not address? Hi, Tila. Okay.